Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga, and this is Soft Flow. This is a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. So glad you can join me for this practice today. So I've called this class Take a Seat, and we're starting in seated. So here's what we'll need to take a nice comfortable seat for our practice. So you'll need several things. One, for sure, something soft that you can sit on. That could be a pillow, a nice blanket that's soft that you can fold. That could even be a towel that you can fold. Will also be kneeling. So you want something soft underneath your hands and knees for our kneeling part of the practice. So something soft underneath you. And we usually like to bring in a couple of yoga blocks or stacked books, anything like that. That comes in handy. And then I've got my bolster, but I did mention you can have a big pillow either to sit on. This could also be used in your Shavasana practice at the end, where you might want to elevate your legs or feet, something like that. And so it's just nice to have that handy, even if you don't use it. That really goes for all of the props. Sometimes I might teach a class where I like to have props, but I'd never use them. But so it's just nice to have. The one last thing that you may need for this class is something that you can lean on, because we're going to be doing chair pose, but rather than doing chair pose kind of just kind of in the posture, we're going to be leaning on something. So if you've got a door, a wall, a dresser, even a chair, something you just kind of lean against, really just for balance and so that can support you, that will come in handy as well. Okay. So I think that is it for our props. I think we're ready. So go ahead and take a comfortable seat. And that can be on your yoga mat, maybe sitting on your soft blanket or pillow. You can also just sit up against a wall if you need some extra support against your back, or even come to a chair, just for this first part of our practice where we just get in tune with our breathing and prepare. I like to sit with my legs crossed. You can do the same if that's comfortable for you. If not, just extend one leg or both legs. Again, finding that comfortable seat. So as you do so, feel free to take a few deep breaths in and out. You might breathe in through the nose. You can exhale through your nose or out through your mouth. Maybe a couple times like that, just to get reacquainted with your own breathing. It's also a nice way to help settle in, to arrive in the moment as you prepare for your practice today. Good. And then just continue with slow, steady breaths. Feel free to keep your eyes open. And if they do remain open, just take a soft gaze forward or downward at the ground. You can even close your eyes. I want to say a little bit more about our intention today. Take a seat. It's really just a reminder for all of us, myself included, that it's always good for ourselves, our minds, our well-beings, our bodies, just to take a moment for stillness, silence. Really, literally, take a seat. Just sit down. We're always on the run, always going. So our practice will be full of just seated postures, different stretches for our hips, our legs, even our backs. Slow, steady breaths. Consider this our breathing meditation, a way to tune in and connect fully, deeply. As you're able, when you breathe in, just feel the breath rising upward to fill up your lungs. And as you exhale, again, as you're able, draw your navel inward towards your spine, just a light contraction of your abdominal muscles. It's just an engagement, a way of just supporting yourself while seated, even if you're sitting in a chair or even up against a wall. Again, as you inhale, just feel the breath rising to fill up your lungs. You exhale to connect to your center, that gentle drawing inward sensation, the navel pulling in towards your spine. You might feel that light contraction of your abdominal muscles. And do that a few more times, just deepening this connection. In a moment, we'll add a very simple movement to our seated practice. Take 3 more breaths. Let's go ahead and add our simple movement. Just inhale and extend your arms out and up. Just reach into the air. Just treat it like a nice stretch, lifting and lengthening through the body. Exhale and extend your arms out across the room and let them float back down by your side, really just following the pace of the breath. Let's do that again. Inhale, extend your arms out, reaching energetically through your fingertips across the room and then all the way up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, extend them out once again. There is some effort and energy in that extension, and they float back down. Now go ahead and continue this movement, moving with your own breath pace. So you don't have to move exactly how I'm moving. Just follow your breath. And again, this can be done with eyes opened or with eyes closed. Just pay attention to this gentle flow. It's combined with some energy at the same time, with the extension of the arms, reaching through your hands and fingertips. Also feel the lengthening through the sides of your body when your arms are up into the air, the motion of your shoulders. When you reach up, just feel yourself even sit up a little taller, more length in your spine. Continue to listen, perhaps, to the sound of your breath. Listen to the sound of your breath while your body is in motion. Finish the breath that you're on and go ahead and take 2 more breaths. Just continue to move, go at your own pace. And when you are complete, let your arms come down by your side, let them relax, and just return to stillness. And notice that change in the energetic moving body to the still, comfortable body. If you are sitting in a chair, just make your way down to your yoga mat. And again, use something soft to sit on for support. Once in seated, let's take our hands behind us and even just prop up onto your fingertips, just so there isn't a strain on the wrists by leaning back into the hands. So just on your fingertips here, and that'll draw the shoulders back naturally. And it's a nice way to open up your heart. So go ahead and tip your chin up just a little bit, not too far. Again, providing a little bit more space in your chest area. We're going to inhale and just a little press of the fingertips into the ground. Feel the energy in your arms, shoulders, maybe even in your upper back. Breathe in deeply and feel that expansion in the chest, filling up your lungs. Then as you exhale, draw belly button in towards your spine. Again, that light contraction of your abdominal muscles. Again, as you inhale, just press into the ground. Feel the breath rising, fill up your lungs. Exhale, draw belly in, and just feel, notice. There's a little bit of an energy kind of shooting through the body in this seated, mild back bend. Go ahead and take 2 more breaths. Once again, just notice the energetic body, and soon we'll come back to that still, comfortable body. When you're complete, just lower your chin so you're looking directly forward. Walk your hands towards yourself so you're sitting up tall. You can even just rest your arms and hands in your lap. Maybe take a breath. And again, just returning to stillness here. All right, still in seated, let's change our leg posturing. So if your legs are crossed, you can uncross the legs. And just going to reposition them so the soles of the feet are touching here, creating cobbler's pose or bound angle pose. Props can come in handy here. It could be your blocks or books or even some small pillows. And just set them on either side of you so your legs have something to rest on. Here with the hands, just hold onto your shins or ankles, even your feet or toes. Just want to be able to, wherever you're holding on, you want to be able to sit up nice and tall. For me, it's my ankles. So we're just going to inhale, even feel like you're moving upward. Continue to lengthen spine. Breath rising to fill up your lungs. As you exhale, draw belly in. Again, that's our support as we now move. A slight hinge of the hips, leaning forward just a tiny bit, maintaining as you're able a full lengthened spine. So the farther we go and the deeper we go, we're going to add sensation to the inner thighs, perhaps. So let's do that one more time. A breath in to fully extend spine. Exhale, draw belly in and a slight hinge forward. I'm starting to feel something. And for now, I'm just going to hold where I am. I know I could potentially go deeper and further into the posture, but since we're using the intention of take a seat, let's see if we can just hold this posture for a bit of time. All righty. So you certainly want to be in a pose where you don't feel strained or constricted, but kind of comfortable, at ease. You can still breathe in and out deeply. There is sensation, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. We're going to hold here. Just focus on the breath. In some seated postures like this one, bound angle pose, the longer that we hold here, it really allows, things to work. For example, if you happen to have like stiff legs, if you hold a stretch that's not too overwhelming for the body, you can hold and allow all those muscle fibers just to kind of loosen up a little bit, because it does take time for that to happen. Let's take 5 more breaths here. So some of our featured seated postures, we will just take our time. We won't go fully into the pose. We won't go 100% or certainly not past that 100% effort of getting into a pose, but we like to dial it back maybe to 60%, and maybe even for this one, 50 or even 40%. All righty, let's go ahead and rise back up. Re-extending spine, sitting up nice and tall. Just hold here for a moment in stillness. Take a breath. If you're using props to support the legs, let's move those to the side. Carefully make your way to hands and knees. And if you aren't already, go ahead and pull in that soft blanket or towel and have it so you can kneel on. So it's something padded for your hands and your knees. And once you're here, we're going to move right away into our cat and cow flow. So an inhale is when we tip the head up or look up, arching the back, creating a bit of a back bend, like so. The pelvis tips back. And then the exhale, we round the spine, tuck chin in towards chest, tailbone kind of tucks under, belly button pulls up towards spine. That's cat. Then inhale, looking forward, arching the back. And here you can go slowly. You can even go a little bit more quickly if you want. Again, just moving at your own breath pace, moving through these 2 postures, paying attention to the undulation of the spine, the rocking sensation of the pelvis. And even take a moment to notice what's happening in your hands, especially in the wrists, because this is a forced flex for the hands and they can easily tire out. So if you need a rest, you can do several things. One common thing that I will typically do just to get off the hands is I'll just come down to elbows and just continue this rocking sensation like this, giving my hands a little bit of a rest. You can always just sit back. And one of the things I like to do to sit back is tuck my toes under and just sit back into what I call half hero, just so you can get off the hands for a moment to give yourself a break. Okay, if you're still doing your cat and cow, finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. And then we'll give the wrist a little bit of a break. First, just come to a neutral position. Just hold in stillness in this tabletop posture. And then if you haven't already, just tuck your toes and then just sit back. Again, this is our half hero. That's what I call it. So just to get the hands off the ground and then turn them the other way, because they were forced flex like this on the ground. We're just going to flip so the wrists are the other way. And maybe very gentle press. I do that like 2 or 3 times. I'm not pressing hard at all into the ground. Just a little softened press. Very gentle, just to get a counter stretch. And then you might even want to circle the wrists like this, okay? And then when we're complete, If you needed to do that little resting moment with the wrists, let's set our blankets and towels to the side. Return to hands and knees here. Go ahead and set the hands or step the hands forward. Spread out your fingers pretty wide here. You get a stretch between each finger. I would even encourage gripping the mat a bit with the fingertips. That too can take some of the pressure off the wrists. When you press with some firmness into the ground, it just sends energy into the arms. We certainly want that. Tuck your toes again. Let's do another cat-cow. Inhale, look up or forward, create the mild back bend. Exhale, round it out into cat pose. Hold cat for a second. With tucked toes, lift your knees off the mat, send your hips up into the air. And then I've been saying lately, and step into place. That means just step your feet into the right place, maybe readjust your hands so you feel pretty secure and good in your downward facing dog. Now, just look directly down at the ground, at your mat, and just step forward a little bit until your feet are flat on the mat. That might be the center of your mat. It is for me. And then just slide your hands toward your toes. You'll be in forward fold. We'll inhale, slide the hands up to the shins or knees to help extend your spine long and flat like a table. And exhale, we're going to gently fold, just a slow melting sensation. And even here, you don't have to go all the way down. Like if you can see me, I'm barely folded all the way over. I'm just going to hold this for a moment. Just as long as the head is kind of dipping down, there's a little bit of relaxation in the arms and shoulders. Even nod yes and shake your head no. We tend to hold a lot of tension in our head, neck, and shoulders. So give it a little shake there. Now we're going to get ready to stand. So now start shifting your weight back into your heels. Bend your knees, feel like you're going to sit into an imaginary chair. Look forward, extend your arms out to the side. It'll look something like this. Drive your heels into the floor. That'll energize the legs so you can straighten the legs, standing up. Nice long torso. Now reach both arms straight up into the sky. Hold there for a second, and then exhale, bring your arms down by your side. Right here. Good. So we're now in our mountain pose. Feel free to continue rolling the shoulders. Again, just checking in to see if there's any tension in the shoulders, even some gentle movements in the neck. I'm just taking ear to shoulder, side to side. I'm nodding by looking down and looking straight ahead. You don't have to tip the head up. Just look down slightly and back to center. And then you might turn your head left and right. Okay. Alrighty. So let's do our forward fold and come back up, our half salute to the sun. Here we go. We're going to inhale and extend both arms straight up into the air. Treat it like a good stretch. Exhale, spread your wings. We're sitting back into that imaginary chair, and that's going to be one of our featured poses. But keep flowing and gently come down. Let the hands come down. Let the head relax completely as you're able. Maybe you'll touch your toes, but your hands might even land at your shins. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs, perhaps to shins or knees, extending the spine, holding here. Just for a couple breaths, actually. This is half forward fold. Sometimes I call it monkey pose. And then shifting weight into the heels, bend your knees, once again, sitting into the imaginary chair. Look forward, arms out to the side, reaching up, standing up. Another nice stretch here at the top. Well done. Exhale, arms return to your side. And if you'd like, you can shake all that out. Maybe a nice deep breath in and an exhale with a sigh. Alrighty, let's move into our Warrior One variation. Returning to mountain pose, we like to start with soft knees. Bend the knees and keep them soft. Start shifting weight into right foot, strongly planted into the ground. We're leaning forward just a tiny bit, so we've got an ease of the left foot. I like to tap it back like this, just to where it naturally stops. Stay on your toes, kind of have a flex in the toes back there. And then pivot or turn that heel, plant it into the ground as your body shifts and plugs into center right there. Now place hands on hips. Push your pelvis downward. And as you're doing that, at the same time, feel very tall up top, making a nice space in the belt line. And you're going to turn to face mostly forward. We'll inhale, take both arms straight up into the air. Exhale, bend elbows, a good 90 degrees perhaps, something like that. All righty. That way we don't put too much tension in the shoulders or neck with the arms fully extended. So this is our variation of Warrior One. A couple breaths here. We'll go ahead and extend the arms straight up into the air with an inhale. Exhale, bring the arms down. Go ahead and place them on your hips again. And then we're going to lean and put some weight and pressure into this front foot so that we can step the left foot back up to the top of the mat here. Let's inhale, standing up tall, re-extending both arms up into the sky. Exhale, arms return to your side. Pause for a moment. Feel free again to just kind of shake all that out. It's a nice way to kind of complete a segment, preparing for the next one to come. Let's put some softness in the knees. Start shifting weight into your left foot, strongly planted. Let's lean forward slightly. Start tapping the right foot back until you can't go any farther without forcing it. Pivot or turn right heel to the floor. Press down. Find that center. Hands on hips. Press down as the spine gets long and tall. Turn to face forward. Inhale. Let's sweep the arms out and up into the air. Exhale, bend elbows. Holding here for our Warrior One variation. Of course, we'll be doing this pose again, but a different variation of it. Deep breaths. Let's go ahead and inhale to re-extend both arms straight up into the air, and the exhale to bring the arms down, hands to hips. Let's lean forward, put some weight and pressure in the front foot so we can step the right foot up to the top of the mat. And then we'll inhale to stand up tall, extending both arms up into the sky. There you go. Exhale, arms down by your side. Wonderful. All righty. Let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to quickly adjust my mat, but let's meet together in mountain pose. Let's go ahead and just continue our flow. Whenever you're ready, inhale, reach both arms up into the sky. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, and sit back slowly into the imaginary chair. But past that chair pose and just continue to fold. Let the arms relax, let your head relax. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs to re-extend your spine. That's our monkey pose. Exhale, fold and bend. Take your time, let the knees bend a lot, let the back round until you're low enough so your hands can come to the ground. Put some weight into the hands and start walking both feet back to the back end of your mat. Drawing a straight line throughout the body, you'll be in plank pose, a very strong posture. We'll take a breath in. When you exhale, bend your knees, feel like you're going to kneel down, but instead send your hips up into the air and then step into place. Again, adjusting the feet, maybe your hands, making your return to downward facing dog. Knees can be very bent here as the hips sit up high in the sky. One thing that I like to say about downward facing dog is that it actually resembles chair pose. When we do chair pose, I'll kind of point it out. But for here, it's, the knees are bent, hips are high, but imagine you were sitting in a chair because the knees are bent. Nice long torso and arms out in front. All right, we're going to inhale and lift the right foot up off the floor, extending the leg back into the air. Just lift it and reach. When you exhale, bend the right knee a whole lot. Bring the knee in underneath you towards your chest. As you do so, shift your whole upper body forward until your shoulders are aligned over your wrists. Just take a look at that. And then just set the right foot down. Just be your toes, your right foot. And then set your left knee onto the ground so you're kneeling. Just momentarily as we go and pick up the right foot, literally pick it up and place it near the top of the mat. We're going to that second version of Warrior One. Relift that left knee. Notice how your weight is still forward. We're going to pivot, turn that left heel planted into the ground, and put weight back into it. Notice my hands. I'm stepping back with my hands to ensure more pressure and weight in that back foot. Then extending spine or torso long out over front thigh. Hinging from hips, we inhale, rising up, taking both arms straight up into the air. Exhale, just deepen the lunge a tiny bit. So here's our second version of Warrior One, a little bit more distance between the feet. Arms are a little bit straighter. Let's continue. We're going to continue moving. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, turn your torso towards the left side of the room as your arms just come down to parallel. And that should land you in Warrior Two. Again, step into place if you need to adjust your feet for balance. Let's take side angles. We're going to reach out with the right hand as if you're going to reach out and touch the wall out in front of you. Angled upper body. Then rotate your arms. So your right hand comes down. Maybe just to inner thigh is fine, while your left hand reaches straight up into the air. And several breaths here. Just to feel this great opening through the whole front body. This is a nice hip opener. And for our soft flow, I like to stay up high in the pose. I typically do this in my other classes too, but in other classes, you're certainly welcome to take this bottom hand and actually touch the floor or bring in a stacked set of blocks. Okay, let's breathe in. Here we go. Exhale, we're going to carefully turn to face the floor, fold and bend. Place the hands on your mat here. Pivot so your heel is lifted behind you. I call this a runner's lunge. Press firmly into the ground with the hands so your arms are strong. Slide or step the right foot back, plank pose. Take a breath in. When you exhale, bend the knees. Send your hips up into the air. Downward facing dog, step into place. Settle in. When you're ready, inhale to lift your left foot off the floor and extend the leg back and up. Exhale, bend the knee a whole lot. Bring the knee underneath you toward your chin or your chest as your whole upper body shifts forward. Set the left foot down, it's just your toes. Set the right knee down, kneeling. We're going to go get that left foot. This is just in case you can't get the foot to the top of the mat. This is just a nice alternative. Placing the foot near the top of the mat. Let's go ahead and relift right knee. Pivot, right heel to the floor. Shift weight into that back foot. We want that balance across both feet. Long torso out over left thigh. Now we can hinge from hips. It's the strength of this front leg to help us rise. Facing forward, both arms up into the air. Exhale, kind of lunge into it. Hold for a moment, feel all these great sensations. Certainly different from our first variation. Let's inhale here, exhale, pivot, turn. So you're facing the right side of the room. Arms come down to parallel, warrior two. Be sure there's a good energy of the extended arms. You can even check in with both arms. Since we're typically looking forward, we kind of lose track of what's happening to that back arm, and sometimes it might droop a little bit. So just kind of check in with that back arm. Side angle, reaching forward, angled upper body, then rotate the arms. Again, stay high if you'd like. You can certainly go lower if it feels okay. Reaching high, reaching low. I like just to take advantage of the opening of the chest and these nice extended arms, the wide stance and deep lunge. It's one of my favorite postures. Let's breathe in. Exhale, we'll turn, carefully fold and bend, hands to the ground, rise up onto tiptoes behind you, runner's lunge. Press firmly into the ground, strong hands and arms, slide or kind of sweep that left foot back, plank pose. Soft knees, hips into the air, downward facing dog, step into place. Take a couple breaths here in this inverted posture. Make sure the head is relaxed. Just nod the head a couple times, shake it. And we're going to come back up to standing. So look maybe up at the space between your hands or even just directly down. Directly down is fine so you don't strain your neck. And just step forward until your feet maybe are in the center of the mat. You can just slide your hands toward your toes. There's our forward fold. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs. See if you can really feel the spine extend. Stay here on the exhale. Weight shift into your heels. Bend your knees, look forward, spread your wings. Let's come up to standing, reaching high. There you go. Then exhale, arms return to your side. All right, shake it all out as you'd like. All right, now we're going to go to that chair pose, and this is where you want to have something that you can lean on. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to use my door right here. So we're going to be moving into chair pose. Let me just show you. So I'm just going to be sitting back. I'm just sitting against the door. That's all, okay? And so we just want something that you can lean against. It could be a wall, a table, a chair, a table, whatever you've got right behind you, okay? And then I'll talk about how it resembles that downward facing dog. So let's go ahead and inhale. Let's extend the arms up into the air. And you're exhaling, just sitting back. So a bend of the knees, sitting back. Now I'm not close enough to my wall, so I don't want to feel like I'm going too far. You would get pretty close to the wall. or door, whatever you've got. So you can just kind of lean against it. Now the arms can be straight, okay? I'm just kind of peeking behind my arm, but go ahead and bring the arms down to parallel like this, like you're going to fly forward. And again, you're just leaning back into your wall. All righty, holding this for a couple more breaths. We are going to relax the arms in a moment. But in downward facing dog, it's kind of the same. Stay right where you are, don't move. So downward facing dog has the same kind of thing. Knees are bent, hips are back. Imagining you're sitting in a chair, arms are extended, just like this. So chair pose and downward facing dog have some similarities. All right, let's go ahead and relax the arms and just bring your hands maybe to your thighs. Now, some of the workings that you can do here are just some leg strength, okay? Even though you've got yourself propped up against an object, this is a nice way to kind of strengthen the legs without overdoing it. Part of that is core connection. So as you're inhaling, we're still extending through the spine. Hopefully my back, maybe you can see this, hopefully my back looks pretty straight here. And then the exhale, just pull belly in, just to secure your body. Okay, now if you get tired at all, please feel free to soften the pose or even come out of the pose, because a lot of working is happening here, but a wonderful way to kind of give yourself strength. Okay, now remember we are doing take a seat. So we're just kind of taking kind of a gentler version of our chair pose. All right, let's go ahead and sweep the arms out to the side or forward if that feels better, to help you stand up, pulling away from your support system there, reaching into the sky, both arms. Exhale, bring them back down by your side. Okay, so that's our first pose. So the rest of our seated postures will actually be on the floor. Let's come back to our mountain pose. Here we go. Inhale, reach into the sky. Let's go ahead and take chair pose. With an exhale, sit back and down into the imaginary chair. You don't have to sit back too far. Again, imagining maybe you're leaning back into that wall, breathing in, and exhale, maybe spreading your wings, slowly folding, taking your time, making your way down. Complete release here at the end. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs to help you re-extend the spine, monkey pose. Exhale, fold and bend. Taking your time, getting low enough, bend your knees more if you need to. Place hands on the mat and start walking, stepping both feet back into that high push-up position, plank pose right here. Let's go ahead and gently set the knees onto the floor. Okay, we're going to sit back briefly in hero. We're just going to take a seat. So just getting weight off the hands, slide off to the side here. Just take a seat, swing the legs around to the front, and make sure you're sitting in the center of your mat. Before you lie down, be sure you've got a stacked set of blocks or books here. We're going to take our bridge pose. And the way that we've been doing bridge pose in this class is that it's a supported bridge pose. We're sitting, okay? So again, just kind of taking our intention in mind. Go ahead and roll down onto your back if you haven't already. Lie down with knees bent, feet flat on the ground. Be sure you can reach your blocks. Before we move, just find the body settling into the ground. Even take a few deep breaths, just a reconnection to the breath. This too can be considered taking a seat. Just lie down, relax. And of course, when we get to the end of our practice together in Shavasana, we're taking that seat again. All righty. We're going to inhale, just fill yourself up with a nice energetic breath. Exhale to support the body as you now lift hips high enough so you can get your blocks or books underneath you for your seat, and then just sit, relax. So we're really relaxing in this back bend. Making the adjustments with the feet, with your arms and hands, just to a place where you feel pretty comfortable. And again, can you hold the pose? So here's our second seat, and we're going to hold it. Really, it's our third seat, isn't it? Deep breaths. And because we're going to hold it for a little bit, feel free to either gaze upward with soft eyes or close your eyes for a moment. Let's just give the body an opportunity to open up. We do a lot of sitting, sitting at work or driving, something active like that. We need to counter that sometimes, do something completely opposite. but we're rarely doing back bends. So this is our opportunity to do a back bend, but in a supported version. Slow, deep breaths. Very nice. Let's hold a little bit longer. Really do feel comfortable here. Finish the breath that you're on and take 5 more slow breaths. Take your time with these breaths. And when you're complete, we're going to carefully come out of the pose. So you might just press feet into the ground, energizing the legs. So you can lift your hips straight up, remove the blocks out from underneath you, and then slowly and carefully make your way back down to the ground. Just hold here for a moment as everything softens, coming out of that mild back bend. Now here, you may draw both knees into chest. We are coming up to seated. Now, if it feels okay, go ahead and rock forward and back so you can rock your way up to seated, or feel free to roll to one side, which is what I'm doing. Roll to one side and then press yourself up to seated. Alrighty, so we're going to stay seated. Let's just extend the legs here. This is staff pose. Straight legs, flexed feet, hands on the floor by your hips, just as a way to assist your own spinal extension, just pressing straight down into the floor, extend the spine, even roll the shoulders back a little bit. Make sure the neck is long and your gaze is forward. This is staff pose. So there is some energy in the body, okay, in the legs, core to help you stay nice and tall. We're not going to hold here too long. We're actually going to take this into a forward fold. I'm going to show you a way you could use a big pillow for this particular posture, since we're going to try to hold it. So first, staff pose, which brings some energy to the body. And then we're going to see if we can soften when we fold forward. Seated forward fold. Okay, go already begin to relax here. Okay, now we are going to fold forward, but here's some things you could do. I'm going to suggest bend your knees a whole lot, okay, to comfortably fold. You can use blocks underneath, but if the blocks feel a little firm or uncomfortable, books might be a little bit too hard on the body. So maybe take that towel or blanket, roll it up and tuck it underneath the knees. So the knees stay bent, but it's something soft. Now, if you've got a big pillow and this is just an option, just bring that big pillow and just place it in your lap, okay? We're going to inhale and get as tall in the seat as possible. I'm actually relaxing my legs a bit. And exhale, just kind of drape yourself over the pillow, something like this, okay? So it's nothing really engaging. I'm not engaging anything really. I'm just kind of draped over so I can easily take breaths. The legs, they're roughly straight or mostly straight, but they've got the support of the blanket underneath soft knees. So they're getting a gentle stretch, which is nice. And because I'm draped over the pillow here, my back is getting a nice stretch. You can even relax your head. And here's how you can relax your head. Even give it something to rest on. If this works, this means you really need to have a big pillow, I think. I've got one of my blocks, and I'm just resting my forehead. I just place this block between my forehead and the big pillow, and then my head can just rest on it. This is a great kind of restorative forward fold position. So just using the props that you have to help you just take advantage of this seated forward fold. I'm going to say a little bit more about taking a seat while you're here. Now, you may have heard me say some of our, yoga words using the Sanskrit term. What's a good one? Like Tadasana. Tadasana is mountain pose. And what's another good one? Chaturanga Dandasana, or just Dandasana. That was the pose we just did. And if you notice, the end of the word sounds the same. They all rhyme. They all end with the word asana. Tadasana, Shavasana. They all rhyme, ending with the word asana. And we roughly translate that to mean pose, like seated pose, chair pose. But it has another meaning. The true meaning of that Sanskrit term is seat, to take a seat. Asana means seat or sitting. So when we move into poses, it's as if we are taking a seat into that pose. We're settling into that pose. We're taking a seat. So that's why we call it that, asana. So we're really just taking that just a little step further. And knowing how taking a seat kind of translates into just everyday life. Making sure that we take time for ourselves, taking care of ourselves, rest when we need to, take a seat. All right, let's take 3 more breaths here in a variation of, this is Paschimottanasana, or seated forward fold. As we start to rise back up, re-extending the spine. Let's move our props out of the way here. I'm going to move the folded blanket too. I'm going to face you for this. And since the legs were extended, let's come back to Cobbler's pose or bound angle. So just a bend of the knees, bringing the soles of the feet together. Now, what I typically like to do is I like to give my back a little bit more support, and I like to sit up on a blanket or even a block when I do this. And so with this pose, feel free to sit up nice and tall in the posture, but you can also take this into a gentle fold, going back to that gentle stretch in the inner legs if you'd like, okay? So we've been here before, but just a repeat, coming back to this posture. We're going to take another variation of this pose. It's going to be a combination of what we just did and what we're doing now. And the pose is Janu Shirshasana. So there's that asana word at the end of the word, which means head to knee pose. We're taking a seat in a posture where we bring our head down toward the knee. All righty. So let's start by extending the right leg out front so it's straight as can be. And the left leg is still bent and the left foot is just on the inner thigh or anywhere along the leg, okay? Just want to be sure how this feels on the bent knee. If you need to have less bend in the knee, then to go ahead and slide the foot down the leg, okay? Now, again, I like to sit on something soft here. So I want to get my blanket back underneath me. So there we go. Let me get that all suited up. There we go. And so I got my right leg extended, left foot on the inner leg here. Now you can stay up nice and tall. Just use your hands to kind of prop yourself up. Nice inhale. But the exhale is starting to hinge forward. Okay, remember it's head to knee pose. Now for this class, we're not going to bring the head all the way down to the knee, of course. But we are taking the fold. Bring in the support that you might want for this, okay? You can do the same thing. Bring that pillow in, kind of drape yourself over like that if you'd like. If you need to put a little bit more bend in that right leg, that right knee, please feel free. We're not going to hold it as long, but just so you can get the sensation of, again, another forward fold. In this case, one leg extended, one leg bent. I really like this pose. It's another one of my favorites because of all the things that work in this posture. Getting a hamstring stretch, getting a hip opener, and if your back happens to be rounded, we're getting a little stretch in the back. Let's go ahead and take 5 more deep breaths here. Janu Shirshasana. Janu is your knee. Shirsha is your head. Asana is your pose. the seat, sitting here, arriving in the posture. After that 5th breath, if you're folded, let's just carefully make our way back up, nice and tall. What we may want to do here is take that stretch out of this extended leg by bending the knee, maybe just a quick return to bound angle, maybe a couple breaths there. And we'll do the other side. So we're extending left leg. Again, that knee can be very bent. Maybe put something underneath for a little support. And the right foot on the inner left leg, anywhere along the leg really to support the knee. Now, if the knee is lifted, you probably can't see my knee over here, but if it's not touching the ground and it doesn't have to touch the ground, I suggest another block or pillow or book, tuck it underneath, okay? Here we go. Inhale, nice and tall. Exhale, either stay here or start to hinge forward a little bit. I'm just using my hands to support me, but feel free to kind of melt a little bit. Okay, let the back round, let your head relax. Use that big cushion if you want. Drape yourself over it. Sometimes a question I might get from students, especially if they're doing a personal practice, practicing by yourself, is like, how long should I hold a pose? You might not have a clock nearby, or you don't have a timer. You don't want to look at a clock all the time, right? So one way to kind of gauge how long you're in a pose is count your breaths. So I will say something like 10 slow, deep breaths is a good amount of time to hold a pose. You can certainly hold longer, 15 breaths, 20 breaths. Something shorter, maybe 5 slow, deep breaths. It's a good way of timing yourself in postures. And it keeps your focus on yourself. All right, let's take 3 more breaths here. Janu Shirshasana. And we'll slowly come back up if you're folded, starting to move your props to the side. And since that leg was extended, let's go ahead and return to Cobbler's pose, taking that extension away and just bend the knee a little bit so the hamstrings can relax. Alrighty. I want to face you once again. We're still seated. Let's just do a very common seated position. Now, if you're able to cross legs, here's some variations of sitting with crossed legs. Here, I'm just kind of crossed at the shins or ankles. This is just called easy pose. If you're able to do this, this is a very common and comfortable for most, seated position. Okay, again, I'm sitting up on a blanket. That just gives me a little bit more back support. Okay, wonderful way just to sit. Coming to your asana, that's sitting practice, great for meditation, breathing, etc. You can stay just like this, but let me just show you some other variations of sitting. Okay, typically you often see me sit like this, half lotus. So one leg kind of stacked on top of the other. This is comfortable for me, okay? You can do either leg. Sometimes it's nice to do, one leg for a period of time and then do the other leg on top. So this is half lotus. Let me show you one more. And that's perfect pose, perfect pose. And so right here, I've got one leg stacked on top of the other. Perfect pose is actually having one leg in front of the other. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. So I've got my left leg out in front of my right, something like this. This is considered perfect pose. Okay, or you can do like this for a period of time and then switch. Okay, so just find, what's best or comfortable for you, considering your knees in your hips and certainly your spine. And I'll say a little bit more about sitting a little bit later, actually, when we're lying down. So there's 3 more breaths, and we'll move to our closing sequence. All right, excellent. Okay, so go ahead and make your way back down onto your back. Just have your props nearby because you may want to use them. But sitting in the center of your mat, go ahead and roll down onto your back. And once you're down, go ahead and hug both knees into chest if that feels okay. And maybe some gentle movements. And this is what I typically do. I just create some circles. I feel like for me, that's a nice massage for my spine and my lower back. And then a rocking sensation, just left and right a few times. You can certainly rock forward and back. And then since the feet are free, I like to circle the ankles, flex the feet, point the toes, and if you can, wiggle your toes. All right, we're going to move into an inverted posture. So you're still flat on your mat, right? And you've got the knees hugging in. So from here, just extend the legs. So the feet are just kind of reaching up for the ceiling. Here, the legs can be straight, but they don't have to be. They can stay very bent. And just hold on to the legs. Just use your hands, hold on to the legs. You're not going to be here too long because we're going to adjust this slightly. So legs extended. If you want to put more bend in the knees, put more bend in the knees. Just as long as you're just elevating the legs up into the air. And then get a little playful with it. You might bend one knee while the other leg extends and just kind of alternate that motion. I'm just going to throw out some options. I typically like to do a little bicycle pedaling here just to get into my hips, knees, and ankles. Some combinations of some stretches, extending the legs straight up, even taking the legs wide, getting a little stretch in the inner legs, even crossing the legs. Here that kind of hits and targets the outer hips and glutes. If your legs get a little tired from being up in the air, either just bend the knees, hug the knees in towards chest, or even feel free to place the feet back down onto the ground. And we're actually going to do that in 2 more breaths. After the second breath, bend the knees, set the feet down onto the floor. Okay, just like we did when we were preparing for bridge pose, lie flat, knees bent, feet on the ground. Take a few deep breaths, letting the back and body relax. From here, we're going to move into reclining cobbler's pose. So here you might bring the legs together so they kind of touch. Just squeeze the thighs together a little bit. And then you're going to open the knees, taking them out to either side of the room, left side and right side, while the soles of the feet touch. Now we did this seated. Now we're just doing it lying down. And I like to bring in blocks or pillows so the legs rest open on those blocks. And then just kind of maneuver the body so you feel relaxed. Use those blankets or towels for a little cushioning underneath the head or even your feet. We're going to hold here for a bit. I want to see a little bit more about sitting, like those sitting postures that we did earlier. Now, sitting seems like a pretty basic thing to do. But sitting in yoga really takes some energy and strength and flexibility. To sit comfortably with your legs crossed in any fashion, it means you need, flexible hips to cross your legs, a lengthened spine so you can sit up nice and tall. And in order to keep the spine well lengthened, you need a strong core to engage. So you can sit up and stay seated up with legs crossed for a long period of time. And that might be a typical way to be in meditation, especially a seated meditation. So how to do that comfortably without distraction from, tight hips, for example, or a weaker core is why we do the moving practice. So we do the moving practice like we did today, just to strengthen your core, to help lengthen your spine, to help open your hips so that you can sit comfortably. You come to asana, that seated place with no distraction or very little distraction from your mind or your body. It's one of the I think one of the true concepts of the yoga practice and the yoga philosophy. Let's take 3 more breaths here. I'm going to finish with a quick twist. So just bring the knees up to center. Hug both knees into chest gently. We're going to take a twist. We're going to send both knees over to the left side. My block is still over there, so I'm going to let that left leg just kind of rest on that block. The other leg is kind of resting on top of the other. While the knees go to the left, extend your right arm off to the right. Some deep breaths. Here is a good opportunity to just count breaths, maybe 5 slow, deep breaths on both sides. And then whenever you feel complete with your round of breath, just return to center, take your time. You might even hug your knees into chest once again. And then take the knees down to the other side. That right leg might come all the way down to the floor, or maybe you've got a book or a block over there for support. And while the knees are draped over to the right, extend your left arm to the left. That creates that rotation in the spine. And of course, 5 deep breaths. Whenever you feel complete, slowly return to center. Perhaps one more hug of the knees in towards chest. And for the final minutes of our practice, go ahead and extend your legs straight out in front of you onto the ground. Let your arms do the same, just resting down by your side. You might even inhale just to fill yourself up completely. Then exhale completely and allow the body to relax, melt right into the earth. Another way to take a seat. This is, of course, Shavasana. For release and relaxation, having rid ourselves of some distractions, perhaps, so we can fully be in the present moment. Like with every practice that we do together, feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you need to. This is your time for full release and relaxation, just kind of carrying that theme, our intention of our practice today, into and beyond Shavasana together. Continue to be aware of your breathing. It's okay to bring a little bit more energy to the breath, even some sound to the breath, so you can keep your focus on your breath. And once again, feel free to stay here as long as you need to, even as I end the practice. But whenever you're ready, take 5 slow, deep breaths, really just preparing your body to move so we can return to seated. 5 slow breaths. Feel movement gently return to your body. And sometime after that fifth breath, moving in slow motion, carefully roll onto either side of your body. From there, pressing yourself up to seated. Maybe you'll sit on your pillow or blanket. Finding a cross-legged position if you'd like. Feel nice and tall in the spine, arms relaxed down by your side, taking your seat. Let's move one time together. Inhale, reaching up into the sky. Nice. Exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. Hold here and take one more breath in and out. And as we complete our practice together, we bow saying Namaste.